They say you can't choose your family, but you can choose how much access they get to your peace. My name is Marina Donnelly. I'm 28 years old, and I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm a senior design technician at a mid-sized aerospace subcontractor just outside of the city. It's not flashy work. Mostly revisions to propulsion prototypes, stress simulations, the occasional schematic presentation. But it's precise. Quiet. Mine. I wake up at 6:30 sharp every morning. Same oatmeal, same coffee. I drive the same 10-minute route to the facility, badge in, badge out, go home to my one-bedroom condo that I keep as spotless as a lab. I water my succulents on Sundays. I never miss a utility bill. I buy things in cash. I like order. I worked for it. My family, on the other hand, is a circus. No offense to actual circuses. They're more organized. My older sister Dana is 32 and hasn't had a stable job or lease in over a decade. She floats from one artistic passion project to another. Photography, interior design, astrology readings for pets. Always something new, always a crisis, always a phone call that starts with, "Can I just ask one tiny favor?" My parents, Evelyn and Jack, they bend with her, always have. When Dana quit her job at a gallery and fled to Arizona with some guy she'd known for 6 weeks, Mom made it sound romantic. "She's finding herself," she said. When Dana totaled her car in Taos and needed a ride home, Dad made the 7-hour round trip like it was some kind of noble mission. And me, I'm the other daughter. The practical one, the one who doesn't require saving, the one who pays her own dentist bills and figures it out. That's the dynamic. Dana burns down the room. I show up with a hose and a checkbook. I've spotted rent payments, bailed out overdrafted accounts, and once even paid a security deposit for a studio Dana never moved into. When my parents forget to pay their water bill, which happens more than it should, guess who they call? Evelyn doesn't say help us, she just says, "Can you take care of it real quick, sweetheart?" I used to say yes every time. There's this unspoken assumption that I can handle things. That because I'm responsible, I should be responsible for everyone. That love looks like picking up slack and not asking for credit. But here's the thing. Even a mule knows when to stop carrying the cart. Something changed? Quietly. Not out of anger, not exactly. More like erosion. After enough years of being useful but invisible, I drew a line. Not out loud. Not with a fight. But in real, practical ways. The kind that matter. They just don't know it yet. Not all of it. But they will. This time, I'm not bending. Not again. Sunday brunch at my parents' place was a ritual I never looked forward to, but rarely skipped. There was always this brittle politeness over eggs and biscuits. Like everyone was trying to keep the tension folded neatly under a napkin. That morning, I parked a few houses down on purpose. My dad's driveway was always cluttered with extension cords or lawn tools that never made it back to the shed, and I wasn't in the mood to play hopscotch with garden rakes. When I walked in, the living room smelled like furniture polish and overbrewed coffee. Mom was already at the stove, humming louder than usual, which meant something was off. She only got that cheerful when she was hiding something. "Hi, sweetheart," she said. Her back still turned as she flipped sausage patties. "You're just in time." Dad was at the kitchen table, reading the paper without actually turning the pages. Donna was on the couch, scrolling on her phone, pretending not to see me. "Morning," I said. I set down the container of fruit I brought out of habit, the unspoken fee for attending. No one looked up. We ate like we always did, in segments. Mom forced conversation about local weather and a pothole on Gibson that could eat a small car. Dad grunted occasionally, eyes on a crossword he wasn't solving. Dinah chimed in exactly once, to complain that gluten-free muffins still tasted like betrayal. It was toward the end, when forks were down and plates scraped clean, that Mom struck. "So," she said, like she'd been waiting for a cue, "Dana's going to be staying with you for a little while." My fork froze midair. Dad cleared his throat. Dana kept her eyes on her phone, her thumb still lazily scrolling. "I'm sorry," I said. Mom turned to me with this smile like I was a child being told a fun surprise. "Just until she gets through the job training program. That customer service boot camp thing starts next week, and you're so close to the transit line." "It just makes sense. It's temporary," Dana mumbled, still not looking at me. I looked around the room. No one made eye contact. My dad folded his arms and leaned back, bracing, like even he didn't agree with it, but had surrendered hours ago. I nodded slowly, as if considering it, even though the room had already decided for me. I knew this performance well. If it helps Dana get back on her feet, I said, my voice smooth as glass, I don't see why not. Mom beamed. See? I told you she'd understand. Dana glanced up just long enough to smirk, then looked back down. What none of them knew, what they hadn't bothered to ask, was that I didn't live in that condo anymore. That was someone else's address now. Someone else's key. Someone else's problem. They'd built a plan around a version of me that didn't exist anymore, and I wasn't going to correct them, let them keep building. I was curious to see how it would all fall down. When I was 12, Dana borrowed my birthday money to buy a set of watercolor paints she swore she needed for an art class. Said she'd pay me back the next week. I never saw the money or the art. That was my first lesson in how things worked in our family. Donna needed. Donna got. Marina adjusted. Over the years, that equation just scaled up. When she wanted to open a photography studio, I co-signed the lease. She lasted 5 months before skipping town for a yoga retreat in Sedona. I covered the broken lease penalty so her credit wouldn't tank. When she got into a shouting match with a neighbor that turned physical, over a dog barking, of all things, I paid the retainer for a lawyer. I still have the court documents. Dana claimed she was being spiritually tested. I called it what it was, battery and denial. And my parents? They were the silent chorus in the background, offering Dana grace and me guilt. She's trying, Mom would whisper, like it was sacred truth. She just needs support. Not everyone's like you, Marina, Dad would say. You don't have to throw it in her face. Except I never did. I never said anything. I just paid the bills and swallowed the resentment like it was part of the meal. There was 1 month, about a year ago, when everything hit at once. Dinah's car got repossessed. My parents' power got shut off because they forgot the bill again. And Mom called in tears because her prescription wasn't covered that month. And could I just float it until payday? I did. Of course I did. And then I sat alone in my condo that night, in a silence so heavy it felt like it had weight. I looked around at my own space, clean, precise, predictable, and realized I didn't feel at home there anymore. It hit me in this quiet, terrifying way. I wasn't safe in my own life, not emotionally, not mentally. Every time the phone rang, I flinched. Every ding of a message felt like an invoice I hadn't authorized. So I made a decision. I sold the condo. Didn't tell a soul. It was harder than I thought it would be. Not the sale itself, but letting go of the idea that I had to explain myself to people who never offered me that same courtesy. I found a minimalist apartment across town, smaller, cleaner, anonymous. The kind of place where no one could show up and claim a spare room out of necessity. It didn't have a guest bed, or even much furniture yet. Just what I needed, and nothing more. I changed my mailing address, my banking alerts, even the emergency contact at work. I drew a line, not in ink, but in concrete. One they couldn't cross unless I opened a door for them. And I hadn't, not yet. That brunch wasn't just another family Sunday. It was a test. And I passed it quietly, without flinching. They still thought I lived in the same place, played the same role. They hadn't noticed the boundary, because when you're the reliable one, your silence looks like agreement. But this wasn't silence. It was strategy. By Monday morning, the texts started rolling in like weather alerts. Dana first. Hey, do you still have the dolly thing for moving furniture? Then Mom. Dana's mattress is getting delivered Friday. I hope you can be home to sign for it. Then a group chat, the one I never named, just family by default. Your dad and I are packing up some kitchen basics for Dana. Do you still like that lavender-scented floor cleaner? I'll bring some Saturday. I stared at the screen over my coffee. My apartment, quiet as a library, didn't have space for a second bed, let alone a sister and a starter kit from my parents' garage. I didn't respond. Not a single word. Not even a thumbs up. By Thursday, Dana added, Can you remind me which floor you're on again? I don't think your building has an elevator. Still, nothing from me. Saturday arrived. Bright sun, breezy air, a perfect Albuquerque morning. Instead of scrubbing floors for a guest I hadn't invited, I went to a plant nursery downtown. Sipped a lavender latte. Let a garden center employee talk me into a calathea I didn't need. I wandered between succulents and fiddle leaf figs while the messages stacked up, unanswered. At 2:12 p.m., I felt my phone buzz again. This time, a voicemail. I didn't check it right away. I didn't need to. I could feel the panic soaking through the pixels. When I finally pressed play in the car, my mom's voice exploded out like she'd been holding her breath for hours. "Marina, what the hell is going on?" The tone was sharp, not scared, not confused but betrayed. "There's a man in your condo, a man, Marina." He answered the door in basketball shorts and said he's been living there for 3 weeks. He didn't even know who Dana was. She exhaled, like someone trying not to scream. "Call me back immediately." I didn't, not right away. I drove home, parked, took the elevator up to my apartment, the real one, and placed the calathea on the kitchen counter. The place smelled like citrus cleaner and peace, the exact opposite of wherever they were. I finally called her back at 4:03. She answered on the first ring. "Where are you?" she snapped. "I'm home," I said. "No, you're not. We're at your condo." "No," I said. "You're at my old condo." Silence. I pictured her blinking, her mouth open but wordless. "I moved," I said, calm as you please. "Weeks ago." "You what? Why didn't you tell anyone?" "Because I didn't need to." "You let us plan this whole move? For nothing?" I sipped from my water bottle. "You assumed," I said. "I never told you Dana could move in." I said, "I don't see why not. That's not a yes. It's not even a plan." "Marina, this is cruel," she said, voice cracking. "I disagree," I said. "For the first time in my life, I feel pretty kind, especially to myself." I hung up, not out of spite, out of clarity. The show was starting to collapse, and I was watching from the balcony. They found me just after sunset. I was on the couch in sweatpants, halfway through a bowl of reheated lentil soup, when the first knock hit, sharp and uneven. The kind of knock that didn't wait, that demanded. I knew who it was before I even stood up. I didn't rush. I rinsed my spoon, folded my blanket, muted the TV. Then I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. Evelyn, Jack, Dana, lined up like a poorly cast stage play. I opened the door halfway. No greeting. "Hi," I said. "You tracked me down." Dad's eyes were bloodshot, probably from the drive across town. He looked tired, angry. Dana, arms crossed, stared past me like she'd already rehearsed a speech. Mom stood dead center, spine rigid, like she was holding the whole family upright by sheer force of will. "You lied," Dana said first. "You lied to all of us." "I didn't lie," I said. "I just didn't explain myself." "That's the same thing," Mom snapped. "No," I replied, calm. "It's not." Dad stepped forward. "You embarrassed your mother. You made us look like fools." "You did that on your own," I said, not budging from the doorway. "We were standing outside with boxes," Mom said, her voice rising. "Cleaning supplies, Marina. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was?" "For who?" I asked. "Don't play cute," Dana barked. "You knew we were coming. You let us plan everything." "Yes," I said. "And I let you." "Why?" Mom's eyes narrowed. "Why would you do that to your own sister?" I took a breath, hand still resting on the doorknob. "Because I was tired of warning you. Tired of being the one who has to say no while everyone else gets to pretend I said yes." Dad tried again. "You should have said something. You should have told us you moved." "No," I said. "You should have asked." Dana scoffed. "You are so selfish, you know that? This was supposed to be about helping me." "No," I cut in. "It was supposed to be about control. About you landing on your feet at someone else's expense." Again, she stepped forward. "Let me in. We need to talk about this inside." I didn't move. "No. You can't just shut the door on your family." "That's exactly what I'm doing." Mom blinked. "You don't mean that." I pulled my phone from my pocket and, in full view, tapped to dial. "Who are you calling?" she asked. I didn't answer. 911, what's your emergency?" "Yes, hi," I said into the receiver. "There are 3 people outside my apartment refusing to leave. They were not invited. I've asked them repeatedly. I'd like to report trespassing." Mom's mouth fell open. Dana's cheeks flushed. Dad stepped back like he'd been slapped. "Yes," I said calmly. "I'll wait for the officers." I hung up and looked them each in the eye. "You can leave now." Or you can explain to a police officer why you thought you were entitled to someone else's home. We're your parents, Mom said, voice cracking. And I'm done being your spare bedroom, I replied. No one moved. Then, slowly, they turned and walked down the hallway. No goodbyes, no apology, just silence. I closed the door behind them and locked it. Twice. I woke up Sunday morning to a phone vibrating off the nightstand. It didn't stop. Call after call. I finally rolled over and turned it face up. 17 missed calls from Mom. 5 from Dana. 3 from Aunt Lorraine, who I hadn't spoken to since her third divorce. Something was happening. I opened Facebook. There it was. My mother had posted a 4-paragraph rant on her timeline. No privacy filter, no subtlety. Just a public spectacle in full bloom. We tried everything. We supported both our daughters through everything life threw at us. But some people have no heart. Some people forget what family means. Our youngest turned her back on her sister in her darkest moment. Threw us out like strangers. Blocked our numbers. It's heartbreaking to watch your child become so cold. She attached an old photo of me and Dana at the state fair. Both of us in matching tank tops and sunburns, smiling like kids who didn't know better. The comments were already flooding in. Oh, Evelyn, I'm so sorry you're going through this. That girl needs help. You're such a strong mom. Sending love. Maybe she'll come around. Don't give up on her. I sat there, thumb frozen over the screen. I wasn't angry. I was tired. And then I started typing. I posted my own thread. No preamble, no hashtags. Just facts. Photo number 1. A screenshot of the Venmo transaction where I sent Dana $1,800 for her failed photography studio. Photo number 2. The PDF of the legal retainer I paid for her assault charge. Photo number 3. A water bill in my parents' name with my bank confirmation below it. Photo number 4. A screenshot of the text from Mom saying, "Can you handle this just this once?" Timestamped from last December, 2 weeks after she gave Dana a $1,000 emergency Christmas gift with my help. I added, "This is what I did." For years, without complaint, without recognition, I didn't abandon my family. I stopped volunteering for emotional debt. There's a difference. Then I turned off comments and logged out. By lunch, I had 5 voicemails. 2 were from Dana, crying in one, furious in the next. "Why would you do that?" she screamed. "You made me look like some pathetic leech." I deleted it halfway through. Mom's message was more composed, but laced with guilt. "You didn't have to make it public, Marina. That's not who you are." She was wrong. This is exactly who I am now. I didn't post out of vengeance. I posted because I was done being the family's best-kept secret. The one who pays in silence. The one who keeps the dysfunction behind a curtain so nobody else gets uncomfortable. Now it was all out there, not to shame them, but to free myself. I went back to my quiet apartment, watered the calathea, pulled open the window just enough to feel the summer air roll in. There were no knocks, no calls, only quiet. And I liked it that way. That night, I made tea. Not because I was cold, not because I needed comfort, but because it was a ritual that belonged only to me. A small thing, quiet and ordinary. Chamomile, no sugar. Ceramic mug with a tiny chip near the rim. I always turned that part to the back. The notifications still buzzed from across the room, but I didn't move to check them. The text had shifted tone by now. I could tell from the previews. "Can we please just talk? This is getting out of hand, Marina. You've made your point. Each message a soft rebrand of the same demand. Come back to being who we preferred you to be." I didn't answer. I deleted them one by one. Then I blocked Evelyn and Dana. I hesitated with Dad, thumb hovering over the screen. But eventually, I blocked him too. Not out of hate, just necessity. Sometimes closure isn't a grand finale. Sometimes it's a single decision in a silent room. I stepped onto my balcony, barefoot. The metal was cool under my toes. The city below hummed softly, a distant car, someone's music 3 floors down, a dog barking without urgency. The kind of sounds that didn't require anything from me. Across the way, a woman in the building opposite mine watered her hanging plants. She caught my eye and waved. I waved back. It was the smallest thing, a 5-second human moment. But it felt real, no performance, No subtext. Just two people occupying the same evening light. Inside, the apartment was dim now. I had turned off every light but the kitchen. Not out of sadness, just because the performance was over. The last time I cried over my family was nearly a year ago, sitting on the floor of my old condo, wondering how love could feel so much like erosion. But tonight, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt still. The kettle beeped softly. I stepped back inside and poured the water, steam curling upward like a final exhale. I thought about the version of myself they still pictured. The responsible daughter with the good job, and the spare bedroom, and the duct-taped boundaries. I imagined them still spinning stories, still rehearsing explanations. Let them. I didn't need to correct the record anymore. The truth wasn't something I owed them. It was something I had finally given to myself. And in this small apartment, in the quiet I had chosen, I wasn't alone. I was free. I sipped my tea. Lights off. Door locked, show closed.